Yo, what is up, guys? And today I'm going to be discussing kind of a lot of things about college football. Haven't recorded one of these in 2 weeks, so sorry about that. I've been very busy, but yeah, I'm just gonna spew off a lot of things here. So, gonna talk about what's happened the last 2 weeks for a little bit. I got some group of five sleepers, surprising and disappointing teams, and then I also have right now my top 10 in college football. So, without further ado, we will get into it, starting with just how the past 2 weeks have been since I recorded one of these. Week 3, not much happened, I don't think. There were a couple of games that were very close to something happening. Georgia was very close with Kentucky. Um, Mizzou, Mizzou was close with BC, and then uh, last week, even closer with Vanderbilt, which I'll get to that in a bit. We had the Arizona K State matchup that Kansas State just smoked them and then ended up losing the next week. But, honestly, there wasn't a whole lot exciting happening per se. Miami won in week 3 over Ball State. Colorado beat Colorado State in the Rocky Mountain Showdown, I think it's called. UNLV upset Kansas. They've been on the news for not so good reasons recently. Um, yeah, not a lot happened in week 3 that's really worth noting. I feel like week 3 is always just like a kind of boring week, kind of the segue between non-conference play and conference play where not a lot is really happening. So, that was week 3. Week 4 last week, we saw some conference play, and there were some decent games. Michigan held on for victory, a nice game over USC that I honestly thought they were going to lose, but they held on with nearly last second touchdown, but touchdown with under a minute remaining to win the game. Nebraska losing at home to Illinois. Illinois' got a big game tomorrow night. This is Friday night when I'm recording this. They've got a big game tomorrow night or no, not at home, on the road against Penn State. Supposedly it's a whiteout, so should be a good environment, and if Illinois wins that, I think they are truly a force to be reckoned with in the Big Ten. And it's crazy to say that because I just didn't think they would be there. But, I guess maybe they are. Luke Altmaier has been playing some good ball. He's a transfer, I think, 2 years ago from Ole Miss. Didn't see him play a lot there, but he played, I believe, last year, marginal amount, and then this year as well, and he's played really nicely. And going into Nebraska and winning is never easy, no matter if the team is 5-7 or 12-0. So, yeah, props to them. That was a nice win. Um, what else? Utah beating Oklahoma State without Cam Rising. Um, Oklahoma State's offense has been really, really bad, and it's really sad. That rhymed. Really sad to see. Ollie Gordon has just kind of been there, and last year, I mean, he was the best in the game at his position, and now as I said, he's just kind of there. Alan Bowman was getting outplayed by a true freshman, who, by the way, is Zach Wilson's brother, Isaac Wilson. I think there were a lot of people who were saying that Utah was going to be in a lot of trouble this year without Cam Rising and without Bryson Barnes, who transferred away, but I think they proved a lot of those people wrong. So they have Arizona tomorrow night back at home in Salt Lake City. Tennessee beat Oklahoma 25-15, although that score is actually kind of deceiving. It was a much less close, much more of a blowout, I guess, until the final couple minutes, really, of that game. I think Tennessee is absolutely the real deal, and I think Oklahoma needs to find a new quarterback, and it looks like they did, actually. They're starting a true freshman this week on the road against Auburn, which, I would say that's never an easy place to play, but right now it is. So, you know, we'll see what happens there. That should be an interesting game to watch, to say the least. So that's just a little bit of what's been happening the past 2 weeks. If I missed any games, I just trying to go through this quickly so we can get to other parts of the video, like this next one. So, before I enter my second segment of the video, just gonna give a quick shout out, supposedly, to 5 teams who are undefeated so far this year. James Madison. I think almost every college football fan heard about their game with UNC. Um, that was absolutely ridiculous. I mean, especially because, like, they lost a lot in the offseason. They lost their quarterback. They lost a lot of key position players. They lost their head coach, Kurt Cignetti, who is now 4-0 at Indiana as well. And they're still, I mean, I don't know if I would say, like, they're, like, really a group of 5 contender. I don't know. But they are the only undefeated team in the Sun Belt, and they're one of 5 remaining in the group of 5. They won 70-50 over UNC, but that defense will have to get figured out. That's for sure. We got Army and Navy, the 2 military academies in the AAC. Army with a nice win last night over Temple. They are 3-0 in conference. Navy with a huge win last Saturday against Memphis. That was really out of left field against a 3-0 Memphis team, by the way, who a lot of people, myself included, thought were going to be like a group of 5 contender, but maybe not now. They won 56-44, another shootout there. So, props to them. UNLV, as I said, they've been in the headlines for all sorts of reasons this past week. They've beaten Houston and Kansas, and in the midst of all that, lost their starting quarterback because he wasn't getting paid enough. So, gotta take the good and the bad as a group of 5 program, but they enter conference play, I believe, with Fresno State, who is undefeated since their loss to Michigan. So should be a good game in the Mountain West. And then finally, Liberty. Liberty's game with App State got canceled due to the hurricane down there in the southeastern states. So that was gonna be one of their tougher opponents, although now it's not really. App State has not looked good thus far in the season. So, yeah, those are the 5 undefeateds in the group of 5, and we'll see how many of them last throughout the course of the year. So, the main 2 parts of this video will be, I'm going to be giving you guys a surprising team, as in surprisingly good, and I guess a surprisingly bad or just disappointing team in each Power 4 conference. And then I will be giving you guys my take at my top 10 so far based on pretty much how everyone has performed so far this season. So, starting off, we got the ACC, our first Power 4 conference. So, in terms of a surprising team, I was looking through the just the layout of the teams, and I just couldn't find a surprisingly good team. I legitimately could not. It's it's really sad how far down that conference fell. I mean, within the first like 2 weeks, I would say like 2/3 of the main contenders in the ACC had at least one loss, if not more. There's been a lot of chaos in that conference, a lot of losing, quite frankly. And so what I decided is I'm actually going to give you guys two disappointing teams in the ACC thus far. The first one, obviously, I didn't really have to think about, is Florida State. That has been an absolute horror for them, especially after a long off season of lots of talking from the Florida State fan base, and they were not able to back it up, unfortunately, or fortunately for a lot of college football fans. But they're 1-3 so far. Finally got their first win at home over an undefeated Cal team. So that means that Cal is just not very good, I guess, is what I can tell you guys about that. So, yeah, Florida State, first disappointing team. Not much else to say about that, really. And my second disappointing team, NC State, has been. They just haven't been that good. They really haven't been that good. I think they're going to struggle in the ACC this year. They have played two close games against Western Carolina, who's an FCS school, and Louisiana Tech, who's a Conference USA school. In the ACC, you should, at least for a contender, you should be beating both those teams handedly, and they have struggled immensely with both of them. And then there are two Power 5 opponent, or Power 4, excuse me, two Power 4 opponents, Tennessee and Clemson. They've just gotten smoked in both. So, quarterback play has not been good. I was excited to see what Grayson McCall could do, but I think he actually might have lost his job if I'm not mistaken. So it's sad to see because I feel like that's a fun program to watch when they're good, but they just haven't. I feel like they've been always solid but never really great, and now I don't even think they are solid. As I said, I think they're going to struggle this year in the ACC. Big Ten, for the surprising team, I'm going to go with a home pick here. I'm going to go Illinois. Illinois has done very well this season. Kansas, nice win there, or nice win at home over Kansas, although the value, if you will, of that win has diminished immensely with Kansas just losing games left and right. They lost to UNLV the next week, and then West Virginia, who has also struggled the week after. I'll get to them in a bit. But they won that, and then if that wasn't enough, they went to Lincoln in Nebraska, and they took down Dylan Raiola and the Huskers there. They got Penn State this Saturday, so should be a good one. They are my surprising team. The disappointing team, I didn't know that there have been a lot of like marginally disappointing, but not really one really disappointing team in that conference. Ultimately, and unfortunately, I ended up on Wisconsin as my disappointing team. It's a really sad situation. What's going on there with the quarterback situation? Tyler Van Dyke struggled immensely in those first two games against, honestly, teams that they should have had no problem with, and they were in either one possession games or just losing in the third and fourth quarters in both of those games against Western Michigan and South Dakota. So, disappointing start, and then the game against Alabama, everything just went way off the rails. Tyler Van Dyke gets injured on literally the first drive. Really sad to see what he's gotten himself into there, and especially considering I believe it's his last year of eligibility. So, just sad to see what's happened to him there, and hope for a speedy recovery from him. But unfortunately, it's not really going to get any better from here on. They have USC this weekend. They got Iowa, Oregon, Penn State still on the schedule. It's going to be a rough few weeks for them. BYU heading into the Big 12 now. BYU is my surprising team. I've struggled picking one in this conference, but BYU, especially just based off of last game and just catapulting themselves into the rankings. They have been really impressive. They got a nice game against Baylor this Saturday, so should be a fun one to watch down in Waco. Baylor, I don't know what to say about them at this point. It's just sad what happened 6 days ago now. 6 days, man. 6 days ago, this night against Colorado, practically letting two Hail Marys into the end zone. One of them dropped, the other caught, and ended up winning, and then Colorado storms the field before the game is over, and it's just a mess there. It's a mess. But, yeah, BYU, surprising team, really nice win over Kansas State. Defense, really solid against, clearly, as we've seen, an offense that can score with ease, led by Avery Johnson there at Kansas State. Disappointing team. Obviously, gotta stay in the state of Kansas. Kansas is the only option. This was maybe the easiest pick. They have probably been the most disappointing team, period. Started with that loss against Illinois and then just completely went downhill fast with losses to UNLV and West Virginia. Just very, very sad. Yeah, so, we'll see how the rest of their season goes there. Wherever they're playing, I forget, Arrowhead Stadium, that's where. So, we'll see if they can get some good crowd sellouts and whatnot, but, Jalen Daniels, he just has not been the same at all, and it's very disappointing. So, that's my disappointing team in the Big 12. Now, SEC. This one again, I struggled to pick a surprisingly good team in the conference. I ended up on Tennessee just because they started the year at 15. They jumped up to what? 5 now? I think that's what they are. And honestly, I'll get to my top 10 in a bit, but I think you could argue they could be at least a spot higher there. I don't know. But I landed on them just because of the progr- progression that they've made in the top 25. It's really hard to go up that much in a short time in like especially like the top 10, 15 teams, and they have done that. So looking forward to see what they can do the rest of the season. Disappointing team, a couple options here. I figured I wouldn't go Florida or Mississippi State to just rub more salt in the wound. I'm going with Auburn. I think Auburn also has a very mockable fan base. Um, it was so funny to see all those hopeful fans after they beat Alabama A&M at home, and people just thought Peyton Thorne was the second coming and whatnot. But it was hysterical after they lost to Cal, who obviously as the I cannot talk, as we've seen, has not performed well, at least against Florida State, who we also know is not good. So, and then losing to Arkansas as well at home. They have Oklahoma tomorrow. I know that there are a lot of guys out for Oklahoma tomorrow, a lot of wide receivers specifically. And Oklahoma's also making a change at the QB position with Michael Hawkins starting now, the true freshman. So, should be interesting, that one. But, Auburn, unfortunately, has, not met expectations. I'm forgetting the word. Not met expectations at all, if there were any to begin with. They have shot below them. I don't know. I don't know. They've been my disappointing team in the SEC so far. Top 10. So, I'm going to try to make an attempt at a top 10 here. I found that looking at the AP top 25, I don't know if I necessarily agree with the order. I mean, I agree for the most part. There are just a few minor changes that I made. But I think the top 10 teams in the AP poll are the top 10 teams. I think they got those 10 right. So, looking off my handy dandy list here, 10, I've got Penn State. They've looked pretty solid so far, other than that one game against Bowling Green. But then Bowling Green just last Saturday went to College Station against Texas A&M and gave them a scare. So I'm beginning to wonder if Bowling Green is just a team to look out for or what, but I don't know. They've looked solid so far, as I've said. Big game, Illinois, tomorrow night. Should be good. I think they should win. If they don't, that's not a good look. You can't lose the whiteout game. That can't happen. Number 9 is Utah. They really impressed me. They really impressed me. Defense was sensational against Oklahoma State. Now, Oklahoma State's offense, I think, on the counter was also horrible, but defense caused some pressure, whatever, did something right, and made Alan Bowman and Ollie Gordon and the rest of that OK State offense look like a bunch of bums out there. So Utah, I think the AP poll has them at 10. I'm going to go number 9 for them. I think that's where they should be right now, but you can obviously disagree with me. So, yeah, there's that. Number 8, I think this is one of the few that I think is the right place right now. I think Oregon should be number 8. I honestly thought they were going to struggle against Oregon State, especially seeing not just the Idaho game week 1, they won by 10, and then I was expecting something to show up, and I was expecting them to rebound in week 2 against Boise State, who is a good team, by the way. I'll say that right now. They're a really solid team. But I was expecting them to rebound against Boise State, and they really didn't. But they did in week 3 against Oregon State. They got another late road game against UCLA tomorrow night, who is not very good. If that is a close game, they probably shouldn't be on this list. Number 7, this is, I feel like people might disagree with me here, but I'm going Ole Miss. I don't know. I feel like it's well, I know that it's a transfer portal heavy team. I just worry that these guys are just not gonna gel and just lose a game that they are absolutely not supposed to. Like, I got a weird feeling about that South Carolina game. That's an example that I can give you. South Carolina's really tough place to play in, as we saw with LSU in week 3. So, I feel like they're just gonna crumble at some point. When, I cannot tell you, but I feel like they will. Also, their strength of schedule, I think, has to be the worst out of any Power 4 team right now. The only team that they've played is Wake Forest. That's the best team that they've played. That is sad. So, Ole Miss is 7. Number 6, call me biased if you want. I got Miami here. Miami has been, again, I probably shouldn't talk about our strength of schedule when I just, kind of shot down Ole Miss's. Ours is not any better, that's for sure. We got Florida, and really that's it. But, I mean, Florida's not an easy place to play by any means. Like, everyone was telling us, oh, the swamp is such a hard place to play, and here comes Billy Napier and whatever, and that place was drained, literally, by the third quarter. So, I got Miami at 6. I can't wait for the Virginia Tech game. I shouldn't say that, should I? I shouldn't say that. This is the exact time last year where we had the no kneel game. We had the game 1, and we didn't take a knee. That was what it was. But, this is not I'm not here to sulk to you about Miami's problems. I got us at 6. Come back and laugh at me if you see this video and Virginia Tech beats Miami for whatever reason. Cam Ward and Kyron Drones are cousins. That's your college football fact of the day. They face off tonight at 6:30 as the quarterbacks for opposing teams. Number 5, entering the top 5. I got Alabama here. Not so much because of how they've played, but I think Tennessee has played better than them. I think Tennessee has played really well. If they beat Georgia, I think they're probably ahead of Tennessee. Well, ahead of Georgia. I mean, clearly. And maybe ahead of Ohio State, Texas. I don't know. I don't know, but huge game of the year thus far. Can't wait to watch it. I've got Alabama right now. Obviously, win or lose tomorrow night, that will change. So, doesn't really matter what I say right now. Tennessee is my number 4 team. I'm just really high on this team. I think Josh Heupel has done such a great job with that program, and however long he's been there. Hasn't been a ridiculous amount of time, maybe like 3-4 years now, but I never remember Tennessee being above like 7-5 when I've watched college football, which is like for like 10, 11 years now, before Josh Heupel was here. Now they've been a team to watch on national TV for like the past 3-4 years. So just a testament to what he's done with that program. And yeah, I've got them at 4. They've had 2 phenomenal wins. NC State, obviously, similar to what I said about some other teams, that the value of that game has diminished practically with NC State sucking, for lack of a better term. But they've had 2 really nice wins away from home as well. That's a really, really key part that you look for in that resume. And I guess I'll just say the top 3 of the AP poll. I don't have any changes with Texas, Georgia, Ohio State. If Georgia wins, they are number 1. If Georgia wins, they are number 1. Absolutely. You don't go to Bryant-Denny Stadium, win, and come back anything other than number 1 unless you're like a true underdog. So I think that number 2 ranking for Georgia will change whether they win or lose, as I said, with Alabama. I think Ohio State is good at 3. I think Texas is good at 1 for now. Interesting to see if and when Quinn Ewers comes back. Until then, it's the Arch Manning Show. So, yeah, very long video, but I feel like I kind of owe that to you guys after being gone for 2 weeks. So, yeah, that is it for this one. I will see you guys in the next one, whenever that may be. So I'll see you guys then.